Why did Jesus die on the cross? Why do we talk about this indebtedness in Christianity? Well, first of all, there's the justice of God. God hates sin. God doesn't just hate what happened in Connecticut. He hates all sin. He despises it. He cannot be around it. He lives, as the scriptures tell us, in unapproachable light. In him there is no darkness at all. There is no sin at all. Sin grieves him. Our Father grieves with us. His heart is broken with us. Why? Because of sin, because of brokenness. And so God has to pay. God has to mete out justice on sin. Don't we hate the justice of God when it has to do with us. We hate the justice of God when it has to do with our sin because we think our sin is somehow maybe cute in the eyes of God. It's just little white lies. It's just a little bit of lust. It's just a little bit of lying. We're not like a killer who can walk into an elementary school. We're not like that. And so we look at ourselves and we say, well, we don't like God's justice when it has to do with our sin. We hate it. And we get angry. People get angry. Well, I just can't believe in a God who would send people to hell. And so we cheapen God's justice. But God is just. And we're happy that God is just when you watch the news this weekend, aren't you? If you're a Christian, you're waiting for Judgment Day now, aren't you? You can't wait to see killers like that get their due. And that is the only hope you have to hold on to right now when it comes to justice. There's no reasons, there's no letters, there's nothing that we're going to find out from someone like that of why they did it. No reason will satiate our need for justice. And so we cling to the justice of God. But I suggest you cling to the justice of God even in our own sin. Even in less sinful sins. Yeah, there are more sins that are heinous in the sight of God, as the prophets tell us. There are. But all sin is deserving of death, and all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. And the wages of those sin, Romans 6 tells us, is what? Death. And so we have this justice of God that must be satisfied. And we need a ransom because there's no amount of good works that any one of us can do to pay off that justice. You can't approach the courts of God and the judgment of God and show him all your stuff. Paul said, of the Jewish nation, I am the best. Of the Pharisees, I am the greatest. Of good works, I am the best. Of zeal for God, I persecuted the church. Out of zeal for God, I am righteous from the outside. And from all of your judgment, you religious people, Paul said, I am clean. I am as perfect as you possibly can get. And he says, I count all of that good works as a pile of dog refuse. And so we approach God in his judgment seat, having to face that perfect justice. And none of us, I would suggest in this room, come close to how perfectly righteous Paul was. And we push those good works in front of him. And without Jesus, without somebody having paid that debt, you will fall short. Every last one of us, the best of us and the worst. You need somebody to come in and pay that debt off eternally. That's why Jesus says, I am a ransom for many.